wanting to talk about abandonment wounding. It's something I have journeyed through, an abandonment wound. I think a lot of people do. It comes from basically, it can be a real core wound because of our birth process. We're separated from our mother at birth, and there is a little bit of a wounding there to begin with. It can even come through with our ancestral patterns and conditions that are brought through with us when we are born. But I wanted to speak into abandonment and how I've worked with it, and how on the spiral of healing, I don't think it ever really goes away because it is such a core wound. I think, though, what I have learned is that it becomes easier to integrate into your life and to grieve quickly when you move with your feelings, and when you start to recognize that that is the abandonment wound coming up. You can give yourself some space and grieve it, and quite often move forward from it quite swiftly. You just got to give yourself some time to integrate it. So I firstly wanted to speak about, I've written notes. So the first thing I wanted to speak of was there's so many types of abandonment. It isn't just relationally abandoned or self-abandoned. So when you really feel like perhaps that the core wound may be from birth, so that is almost like a disconnection from our mother. So in that respect, it's an abandonment. But I think what can happen is, as we go through life, it can become self-abandonment. It is like reflected back to us in a form of self-abandonment. I believe that the boundaries that we create with ourselves and others help to heal abandonment. How we take action on. So when we self-abandon, we quite often don't even recognize that we're trying to keep something in our life quite often that maybe isn't meant to be there, is a fantasy, is something we want, that we think we want, and when we can attach that to somebody or some place or something, we can attach that. But when we finally recognize that it's not found in another person or a place or a thing, it is something that when we let go of our fantasy of it being in another thing or person, that it quite likely comes in another form. So when we use boundaries to really look at the situation that we are in and to discern whether that person, place or thing is available for us, when we really look at, is that available, or are we fantasizing about it being available? So we take our time and we really look at the actions we take around that, in the fact that, are we trying to control or force or perform to win that situation, person, place into our life. So then we recognize that we perhaps are self-abandoning, and that can be quite disturbing to think that we have been giving up on what is truly important to us and what we truly desire through hoping someone else will fill that spot. And they're not available for that. So we've got to let go, and there's so much grief in letting go of that, because fantasies are good. Fantasies feel good, they feel familiar, they feel safe. When a fantasy is a fantasy, it never materializes, so it can be safe. It can mean that we don't actually have to face the intimacy that we truly desire, that is really scary for our body to experience. So when we're looking at letting go of that, letting go of the self-abandonment, we have to grieve it. We have to set boundaries with ourselves and with others. If somebody can't meet our needs, we just grieve it and move on, because that gives space for something new that may be more fulfilling for us. It will be, because if you're letting go of a fantasy, even though we have hopes and dreams, we're letting go of a fantasy of something that can't actually be received by you, then it leaves space for something truer to come in, something more fitting to your true desires can come in.